Well, guys, welcome back to another Chef Look Cooks patron favorite series. This month we're going to be doing a little bit of a blend. We're doing a Swedish meatball, which was suggested, but I'm adding some mushrooms in there, kind of like a beef stroganoff. It's going to be kind of like a blend between the two. The spices are really going to push us into that Swedish meatball zone, but the mushrooms for me are going to really push it home. And then I'm having it with egg noodles, which is how I like my stroganoff, although sometimes Swedish meatballs are also put on there. Classically, Swedish meatballs are served with lingonberry jam. I couldn't find any. I tried. I did find a raspberry jam that has red currants in it, which should be like a little bit tangier. So if you want to give that a try when we get around to actually eating, please do go ahead. I think it'll be a lot of fun. It's just a little bit sweet to go with that, like really, really creamy. The acid specifically from the cranberry or the lingonberry is what you really want. So I'm hoping this is a fairly acidic jam. I already started my water boiling because I do not want to have to wait for that. But we're first going to jump into making our meatballs. We're going to get those in the oven, ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and turn that oven on, actually. Sweet. Get that ready to go. And we'll start putting our meatballs together. So I'm using beef and pork. The usual ratio for the beef and pork is 1 to 2. So 1 part pork to 2 parts beef. I got the beef on sale, so I have a little bit extra beef than I normally would. We normally would be doubling this recipe, but I'm going to kind of like 2.5, maybe almost triple it, just so we have plenty of meatballs. And then we'll double the gravy recipe and probably stick with that. Although last time I made this gravy, it thickened up a lot, which is normal. Usually with any sort of like flour thickened thing, it tends to get really like, it's a nice texture, and then once it cools, it thickens like a brick basically. So I might go a little bit looser, but we'll check that out. And that's actually in the recipe, to adjust the seasoning and the liquid ratio for the gravy. So we'll see what that looks like when we're done. But for now, let's just jump right into meatballs. We're going to start with some breadcrumbs and some milk and some spices. We're going to get them all in here and soaking in milk, and that is going to hydrate the breadcrumbs and make sure that they're like nice little bits of hydration, of moistness in that meatball. We're making fairly small meatballs. I'm actually using a scoop to make this process speedier. And so with smaller meatballs, they're going to cook really fast, but they also have a really high chance of drying out. And so having a really moist bread in there is going to be really helpful. It's also going to keep them moist while we're cooking them in the gravy later. You could hold this dish for a good long while, and hopefully the meatballs will stay really moist because the internals are going to be really moist. Not only are we going to have the moist breadcrumbs, but we're also going to have raw garlic and onion in there that are both going to add moisture. Lots of things that are adding moisture to this mix. We're using fairly fatty meat, although the sale meat was fairly lean. The recipe usually would want you to get like a 20-80. You want a decent amount of fat in there, again, because you want it to stay as moist as possible. This dish is usually something you'd make and then put out at a party or something. It could sit there for a couple hours. So the more moisture, the more fat you can put in the meatball, the better meatball you're going to end up with. So we're going for a full cup of breadcrumbs. Because we're going to double this. I'll probably do a little bit more than that. This is a 1/4 cup. Can I actually fit that in there? Yeah, let's go. Sometimes life just makes it easier. I think I'm just going to put a little bit extra breadcrumbs in there because I do know I have that extra meat. And I can always add more later if I need to. I do want them to soak in the milk as much as possible. And then we're going to get our seasoning in there as well. So I have some cardamom, some allspice, and I have some whole nutmeg. Just because that's what I had available. Oh, we got lost in here. Come on, baby, get out. I just put it in with my nutmeg, with my cardamom. Where'd you go? There we go. Whole nutmeg is really cool. You guys know from past shows that I really like microplanes, and nutmeg is one of those things that is really will help you use this microplane all the time. I have a little tiny piece of nutmeg in there. I'm going to put half of it in the meatballs, and then we'll save the other half for the gravy later. And you just go right on the smaller plane here, and it gets grated really nice. You can use normal dried nutmeg if you want. I just happen to have whole nutmeg, and so that's what I'm using. And again, I'm not going to measure this. I'm just going to use about half of what I have here, and the other half in the other application. Allspice is a really, really nice spice. If you guys have ever had it, you might have had it in like Jamaican food. It tends to be one of the main ingredients in like a jerk sauce or rub. And that's because like original jerk chicken is actually just roasted and smoked over the actual bush that the allspice comes from. So the wood from that is how they usually get that flavor in there. Our sort of Americanized hack is to just put the allspice in the sauce. It smells so good. If you've ever had like a Jamaican jerk like wing at Coupe de Ville or something like that, one of my favorite places, I miss it right now. that's probably the spice that you're tasting. It's a little bit sweeter than even like cinnamon would be, and I really like that for it. It's a great great seasoning to put in savory dishes, especially meat. It really like brings out sort of a sweet edge to that if you're adding any sort of sweet sauce or barbecue. It's really great. So this is a half teaspoon. We're supposed to put a quarter teaspoon in there, so that's perfect. I'm not going to up the spices because they're already pretty strong. All three of these are like really strong, warm spices, and so if we over season, that's all you're going to taste. And you want to taste it. That's kind of what makes the Swedish meatballs, but I don't want it to be too crazy. So again, half teaspoon in there. So that's our dried seasonings. We also are going to put our onion and garlic in there. I've got some just like fresh garlic that was left over. Normally I would be grating this on the microplane to get it as fine as possible, but we have this garlic and we're going to just use it up, so I'm just going to put it in there. Use the rest of what I got. That's about right. This is a little, oh, it smells so good. It's a little sweeter than it normally would be, but you know, raw garlic tends to be like really, really intense. And then we're going to do a whole onion. So normally I'd use a half again, but I am doubling this recipe. And I'm going to grate this onion, so I want to keep it on the root end so it doesn't fall apart on me. And unfortunately the outside of this is a little gross. But that's okay. I think we're going to have still plenty of onion left over. I don't often grate onions, especially raw onions, can be really intense, especially in raw applications. And even if you're going to cook it later, the texture can be really weird. But for something like a meatball, it's perfect. It's like the perfect application for grated onion. If you have a food processor and you're doing like a massive batch of this, you can always just put this in a food processor too and just let it go to town until it gets beat up. This microplane has a smaller or a little bit bigger grate, which I'm going to use for this. But just like a normal box grater with the cheese side will work just fine for this. And I'm just going to rest it in my bowl so I can really go to town. And hopefully I don't cry too bad, because this will release all those horrible chemicals that make you cry. And as you can see, it's like almost like a little paste that comes out of there, and it's perfect. It can go really good in like salad dressings as well. You just have to be careful what onion you use. If you're using something like a Vidalia, maybe it would work better. But the more intense, the older your onion, the more that sort of like crazy, overwhelming, you know, dragon breath onion flavor is going to be. And but a sweeter onion would work great. And then if you do this and you add a little salt and vinegar to it, that's basically going to cook that onion flavor out. So you can make a really, really nice like Vidalia onion vinaigrette. When I was a kid, my mom will test this. I used to have, that was like the only dressing I'd eat. It was balsamic vinegar for a while, then it was Vidalia onion vinaigrette. And that's what they do. They basically just like make this like onion paste, but then they cook it, they pickle it essentially. And that sort of cuts some of the onion flavor. So this is going to give us a lot of moisture, which is our main goal here, but it's also going to give us that nice onion flavor. I don't think I've ever had a meatball or a meatloaf that didn't have onions in it. It's just one of those like basic truths of the universe, I guess, that you got to put that in any sort of like meat bread product, but maybe that's just me. I love onion though. I think almost every single dish that I really, really enjoy starts with cutting up an onion and some garlic. Whenever I like make something, I'm trying to clean out my pantry, if I have onions and garlic, like everything, the world is just sort of open to me. I can kind of do whatever I want. They're great. They're aromatics for a reason. They add a really great flavor. They're a great base to pretty much anything you could possibly want to make. I know some people that are allergic to onion, which is sad as far as I'm concerned, but at least they can have like scallions, which is nice. Come on, let's move this a little closer so I can finish it off. Oh, uh-oh. We dropped it in. That's okay, we got lucky. It landed right in the onion goop, so no file. Okay, start going off the side now. I don't want big pieces in there because we're making small meatballs. That's another reason, like if you don't have a microplane, I would really try and find some way, even like a blender, to blend this up. You know, maybe mix it with the milk and blend it, because you really don't want pieces in there. They're going to break the sides of the meatball and make the meatballs want to fall apart. We really need these meatballs to stay together, because not only are we going to cook them pretty heavily, but then we're going to put them in a sauce and toss them, and if they start falling apart, we basically just have like, I guess that would be pretty good. Just like ground beef. If you were really lazy, you wouldn't even have to make the meatballs. Just like chop it up, grind it up, make like almost like a creamy pasta sauce. Would work just fine, just in case you don't want to put in the extra work to make meatballs. But I love meatballs so much. They're little mini meatloaves, and meatloaf is one of my favorite dishes, so it sort of works out. So that's our whole onion. get the rest off of there. And I'm gonna probably need this again later, so I'm just gonna get that onion cleaned up now so it doesn't sit around and start to stink. Give that a chance to dry off as well. And then let's see, what's next? We got nutmeg, allspice, cardamom, onion, garlic, and then we just need our milk. So I'm gonna keep this milk out because I only have so much heavy cream, and this is a really great way to sort of thin out your gravy later without necessarily, like if you don't want to put more beef broth in because it's plenty of beefy, but you still want it to like be a little bit more liquidy. The basic milk's gonna be really good for that. You won't be adding as much fat as cream, which is nice. Smells fine. And then let's see, it is 1/4 cup of milk. And then again, a little bit extra just because I did put a little bit extra breadcrumbs in there. And let's get that guy mixed up. So we're just gonna mix this up, let the milk start absorbing into the breadcrumbs. I'm using panko breadcrumbs. You can use old crusty bread as well. One of the nice things about using old crusty bread, you soak it in milk, it gets really soft, and you can just mush it up into basically what I have here. But you know, you can't buy old crusty bread at the grocery store, which is unfortunate. They usually, I mean, you could buy like day olds, but not at our local store. So I did see a big chunk of spice in there, so I want to make sure that's nice and mixed in as well. And then we're just gonna let that sit and let that panko just absorb that completely. It's gonna be a really great base. You add an egg to that right now, honestly, it would make like a really interesting sort of like pancake. Maybe not as good as our meatballs are gonna be though, just to be fair. So we're gonna go ahead and drop up all of our parsley. I'm gonna use about half of this in the actual meatballs, and then the rest I'm just gonna leave on the sides. You guys can use it as a garnish on your meals later. So I just sort of bundled up as tight as I could. I'm running my first run through right now. I already cut off the stems, and a lot of times I'd like save those and use them maybe for like a stock or in like a salad. I like that kind of crunch from parsley, so I usually don't mind just sprinkling on top of salad. But it's not gonna work as well in this dish, and it's definitely not gonna work in the meatballs. We really, again, we don't wanna like have anything poking out of them if we can help it. We want nice smooth outsides so they don't fall apart later. So I cut it this way. I'm gonna try and turn the whole block basically this way, then put it all together again, and run my knife through again. That's gonna get a pretty good dice. I'll probably end up running my knife over the top of this one more time. But we just want a pretty good dice. Parsley is a really fun herb. For a long time, long portion of my career, I kind of hated parsley. I thought it just kind of tasted like grass. It's got some really great, essential oils in there, and a really nice flavor, but to me, it just never tasted right. And I started having it on like creamy sauces, and especially with like steak, a little bit on top, it kind of like changed my mind. I still don't think it's my favorite herb. That's cilantro by a long shot, but it does taste pretty dang good. It doesn't just taste like grass. It smells a little grassy, but it definitely has like its own unique thing. For those of you who like parsley, good on you. It's really, really good. It's probably one of the better herbs for you, and most herbs are incredibly good for you. But it's really good, and it's really versatile, and almost, everybody likes it. There was a big period of time in like the 90s and stuff when it was like on everything, and we've kind of moved past that, I think, culinarily, but it still has its place in a lot of really good cooking, especially high-end cooking, so you'll see it around, and I now like the flavor, which is great, especially with creamy sauces and meat. It's like one of my favorites. So let's see, 10 minutes-ish. I'm going to put the ingredients on top, but I'm not going to mix them in it right now. Yeah, it's remaining. Okay, so beef, pork is here, parsley's here, panko is in there, onions in there, milk. So I just need the eggs and the parsley. So let's see, what did I say? Half cup of parsley? 1/4 cup parsley. So we'll double this up. Put the rest over here. It's weird for me following a recipe for meatballs, because like meatballs and meatloaf have always been like such a like not by the book thing. You like grab what's in the pantry, you grab what's around, you throw it in there, you put some cheese in there, maybe a couple eggs or extra bread depending on what you didn't have enough of, and then it just works, But for these specifically, with them being my first time, I want to like follow it by the book. Little tiny meatballs especially is not something that I'm used to, so like I keep thinking they're just going to fall apart, and I'm getting very excited to be surprised when we take them out of the oven and they're like perfect little balls of delicious flavor. So Okay, great. We've got the parsley in there. It's been like 10-ish minutes. I'm not super worried. This is definitely absorbed. That's the nice thing about using panko breadcrumbs, is that it's going to absorb a lot faster than like a big loaf of bread would. We're going to do 2 eggs because I'm doubling the recipe. Oh, down didn't go. And you can put more eggs in there if you want to. It's not going to hurt anything. They're one of like the main binding agents. If your dough feels like it's a little bit too wet, you can just toss a little bit more breadcrumbs in there. It's not going to hurt, but some people like more eggs, especially in like meatloaf, which is essentially what meatballs are, little tiny boys. So, and then we're going to go in with all of our meat. So I've got 4 1/4 pound. Recipe would normally be 1.5 pounds, so then 3 pounds. So I've got a little bit extra, but I think it's going to work out just fine. So pork. And beef. And you can use anything you want. I believe the classic is lamb, but I just don't usually buy lamb if I can help it. No particular reason. I think it's mainly the price, realistically. I like these little packs that they do of like the pound meat. They're very easy to like sort of open up and get out. So that's always nice as well. But you can buy absolutely anything you want. You could use anything you want. If you've got venison, I know it's kind of season just stopped, but like if you've got venison in your freezer, that would work perfectly fine with this. In fact, I think it would be really, really delicious. That sort of earthy, gamey venison flavor with the warm spices we're using, I think would really groove. So, and then the lingonberry and cranberry is also a classic side for pork, or for venison. All right, let's get that meat juice off here. I'm just gonna put this to the side. Cardamom, we were just talking about this. Cardamom is the flavor that you get in Earl Grey tea. So it's kind of sweet. It's very, very, very aggressive and strong. That's right. I need a little salt and pepper. That's right. The pepper in here is not good. So we're just gonna do a little bit of salt in here. I'm not gonna use tons because the beef stock is pretty salty, but I do want my meat at least a little bit seasoned. So yeah, you can come smell it later. I'll have it out if you want to check it out. How can I describe it? It's like, I don't know, spicy or cinnamon, but it feels like almost like a mix between multiple different warm spices. It's like the king of warm spices almost. It's really, really nice. It's usually you get green cardamom, it comes in a little green pod, a little seed pod, and that stuff's really intense if you use it. It's in a lot of different cooking. I think Indian is classically where you'll find it, but it's made its way all around the globe at this point. Whoa, really? Oh yeah, it's in chai a lot. That's right. It's one of the big flavors in chai. Definitely. Interesting. I hadn't thought about that. It's the seed pod. We use the ginger root, but it's the pod from a similar plant. That's kind of cool. Okay, I'm just making sure I didn't lose anything. 10 minutes, add the ingredients, mix to combine. I'm gonna go ahead and get in there with my hands. Who am I kidding? It's just easier to make meatballs with your hands. It's also gonna let me feel what the moisture level is like. We want these moist. They're gonna be moister than like I would maybe use for a meatloaf. With a meatloaf, you've got the whole pan, so the edges are really all that's gonna get super, super cooked, and so it's okay if it's a little bit drier. And you're also usually, for me at least, putting a sauce on top. That's going to help sort of like keep that moisture in. But with meatballs, they got nothing to protect them, so you really do want to have as much moisture as possible in there. You want to try and mix them till they're just combined, but not overmixed. Overmixed will make them get a little bit tough, and we don't want that. We want them slightly tough because we don't want them to fall apart, but we want them to still fall apart in our mouth. So that looks pretty good. Moisture level's nice. That's gonna be good. Okay, wash my hands. Sweet. I feel like we should have some tunes playing. I don't know why. For today, I feel like music would be a good and appropriate aside. But all right, let's get this rocking. I'm going to start cooking my noodles just because I want them done. So we've got a couple sheet pans here. I'm just going to load these up and fill them with as many meatballs as I can possibly fit. I'm hoping to fill both of these sheets. We'll find out what we got in just a moment. Okay, you can line these with parchment paper if you want to, but I feel like it's usually just a waste. So I'm just kind of doing like a full scoop of this meatball, and then I'm just going to sort of roll them in my hands here and put them right on the thing. I'm not greasing the baking sheet because there is enough fat in this meat that it should come right out by the time these are done. I don't want to add any more if I can help it, basically. Most of the time, meat is not going to stick as long as you cook it long enough. You usually only need grease or oil or fat when you're cooking meat if you're planning on doing something like without too much of a bark, maybe like a medium or even like a rare. You're just like cooking it really, really fast to get some color. But most meat, once it's cooked enough, will have released enough juices, and you've had the Maillard reaction, which is the reaction that makes that browning effect, is going to create a sort of a crust or a bark, and then that is going to allow that meat to pop right off. I might eat those words later, but it should be fine. I haven't had any trouble with this in the past. It's also going to make it a lot easier for me to scrape those drippings off later into our gravy, which is my hope. And so I'm just using one hand to scoop, one hand to shape, and it's definitely going to get tacky. That's okay. I might need another sheet pan, which is great. I'm very, very happy to have extra meatballs. And it's just a little squish. The nice thing about this is because it's so moist, it's also very sticky, sticks together, sticks to itself really, really well. So you don't need to do much to get into a ball that's going to stay together. Yeah, these are going to be great. I don't know what I was worried about at all. The scoop's getting a little gummy, but that's okay. Oh yeah. So the gravy is probably one of my favorite parts about this, and we're going to get jumped onto that once I get these in the oven. But it is probably one of my absolute favorite things. If most of my dishes, when I make them with you guys, I try and make the ingredients and the recipes portable. And what I mean by portable is like, if you're making this dish, you're going to know how to make this gravy, and you're going to be able to make this gravy to just put on pasta if you want to, or to have with rice and make like a rice bake that you then like sprinkle some cheese on top of. This gravy is going to be very portable. You're going to be able to use it anywhere you want. And similarly with the meatballs, if you want to use this same meatball method, change up the spices and just have it with like a red sauce, nobody's stopping you. That's like my general goal whenever I make a recipe, is that it's portable and then modifiable. If you want to change the spices in this, it's easy enough to just like take the cardamom and stuff out and put in thyme, Italian seasoning, whatever you want. For me, whenever I use Italian seasoning, I use like a half cup though. I just like love Italian seasoning, especially in like quantities that probably should not. It's like garlic for me. Like if I'm putting Italian seasoning in something, I'm putting a lot of Italian seasoning in something. But yeah, that's like my big goal in general. So this gravy is something that I've been making for a long time. It's basically a bechamel. Bechamel is one of like the mother sauces, and that's just a milk flavored broth that is thickened with flour and butter, or a roux. Usually you wouldn't call it a roux unless you're going to cook it for a long enough time for it to develop some sort of color. We're doing, I guess, what would be called a white roux maybe, where we're just putting the butter and flour together until it is cooked, so it's no longer starchy, but we're not cooking it till it has like a pale or even like a darker chocolate roux. Chocolate roux is usually the base for like a gumbo, something you take butter and flour, you cook it down really, really slow and low, you stir, make sure it doesn't scorch or burn, and you end up with this beautiful, like almost black colored paste that you can be used to then later thicken your gumbo, and adds an amazing depth of flavor. It's essentially like the flavor you're going to get from brown butter mixed with toasted bread, and it is one of the reasons why gumbo is so absolutely amazing. You usually use roux, I think, in etouffee as well, but it's a lighter roux. Roux in general are just a lot of fun. You can do a lot with them. You can thicken pretty much anything with them. In the past on this show, we've done a lot of slurries. We've used cornstarch or tapioca starch to thicken things. And slurries work really well. Starches work really well for thickening. But they tend to get gummy when they sort of cool, whereas a roux, when it cools, gets almost more like solid, like a brick kind of. It's just a different mouthfeel, and that's really the main difference. Is a roux is going to be sort of smoother, where A slurry is going to be more sort of tacky. This smells really good, by the way. I wish you guys could be up here. I know, like, raw meat, it feels weird sometimes to be like, wow, that raw meat smells good. But it smells really good. I'm having to, like, remind myself not to just pop one in my mouth right now. There is pork in here, so you definitely don't want to do that. Pork is, like, nowadays a little bit more safe at the grocery store than it would have been in the past. But it's still a meat that you want to make sure you cook well if you can. I've definitely been served medium rare pork at restaurants even, and I've greatly enjoyed it. But you got to know where that pig came from. You got to know who dealt with it, what's been happening before it got into your hands. So maybe not something you want to get from the grocery store, but you know, just to name drop, not official support, but reliable, does have a really fabulous butcher. If you did want to eat medium rare pork, I bet you if you went in there and asked him, hey, I want to eat some medium rare pork, please help me with this task, he'd find you the freshest pork that you could get to make sure that you would be safe. So love that place as far as meat is concerned. That's that in Shiretown. I miss Shiretown. Oh, I miss Shiretown. Oh gosh, that was great. David's such a good guy. Man, reminisces. Does anybody in the crowd have a favorite sub from Shiretown back in the day? For me, it was the meatloaf sub because, I mean, let's be honest, I love meatloaf. But if you want to call one out, I'd love to hear about it. I love reminiscing about that place. BLT. Yeah, good BLT.
In the summer with fresh potatoes.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Anyways, that's one of those things that happens on the island. Does anybody remember? We were talking about subs. Do you remember when we had a Subway in Oak Bluffs?
Yes.
That was so crazy. I can't believe that like happened. The Chamber of Commerce. Like, can you imagine trying to put a Subway in OB nowadays? I don't even know what would happen. Anyways, this is just me trying to fill some time. We're almost there. I think I might fill this tray and then leave the leftovers because I don't think we're going to need this many meatballs for all you guys. So I'll just leave the leftovers and I'll make a little burger out of them. Meatloaf or meatball patties work perfectly fine for doing burgers. It's a really great way to stretch the meat too. Like, let's say you're going to have a dinner party and you're all making burgers for 5 people, and all of a sudden, your friend invites somebody and then your other friend invites somebody and you've got 10 people now, but you don't have time to go to the store. Just put a little breadcrumbs, milk, and an egg in there. Don't tell anyone, or do. I mean, it could be fun too. Meatloaf burgers are tasty, and you're going to have more meat. It's like a magic trick. It's like putting milk in your eggs for scrambled eggs. I don't know if you guys ever did that, or do that rather when you cook scrambled eggs. I still to this day do it. A little milk in your eggs makes it go a little bit further, but also gives it a kind of nice little extra flavor too. So, oh my gosh, this is gonna be great. We're gonna be filthy rich with meatballs. I'm so happy I brought this scoop. Otherwise, both my hands would be dirty right now, and it's just like a whole nother process. Now, like if I'm in the kitchen at home, I can answer my phone. I can do something else if I needed to, like turn one of these things off because something was burning. Anytime possible where you can keep one of your hands free or clean when you're in the kitchen makes your life a little bit easier. So I think what's happening basically is I just, normally your single batch is going to fit on one tray, which is what you guys want for at home. But I did add that little bit extra meat, and I think that's what we're basically seeing here is that extra meat coming out of the woodwork. Yes. And you can make these meatballs bigger too if you want to. I just really like them small. You get more gravy per bite, and then also you get more meatballs. It just feels better, If I'm eating 12 tiny meatballs, I feel better than if I eat 6 big meatballs, even if they weigh the same. It's just a little thing. I think in some ways I like eating tiny food as well. Little muffins and stuff like that are always kind of fun. All right, last one. We'll put this in the fridge and deal with it later. Perfect. Always wash your hands when you're dealing with meat. Just in general, it's a good idea, but especially meat of unknown origin, which is most of the things you get from the grocery store. Okay, great. Let's get these in the oven a little before, and then we'll see what they look like after. I got the oven at 425. We want to cook these pretty fast. You can do them lower if you want to, but this is hopefully going to get us a really nice crust. So timer, we're going to do 20 minutes. and see what they look like. This says, I believe, 18 to 20, but I got those pretty tight on there, so I'm just going to go ahead and go for full bore. Excuse me. Where is my sanitizer? Just going to sanitize my work surface real quick. Sanitizing wipes are nice for this, just kind of a hack. Just because I'm going to be working with raw ingredients, and you know, some of it might end up later in your stomach. Again, the pork is probably safe, but it's always good to be as safe as possible if you can be. Okay, sweet. Let's jump back into our next portion of the program. So we've got the meatballs done. They're in the oven. They're doing their thing. We're now going to start working on our gravy. I'm going to go ahead and get my pasta in too as I let this heat up. We're going to be working with mushrooms. I got a big old thing, 16 ounces of mushrooms. We're just going to cook these down. I love mushrooms because you can just do so much with them. Someone was just telling me earlier that you leave them in the sun and they'll absorb the sunlight and keep that vitamin D in them, which is great. I love that. I like them because they're really hard to burn. They last forever. Like even when they get old and like wrinkly, if you cook them, they like spring back to life. They don't really care much. Usually they're just losing some moisture. But yeah, I'm very, very excited. I'm gonna make sure there's enough oil in here. If I was using my cast iron at home, I probably wouldn't need as much, but I always want to make sure they're not going to stick to the bottom. You can also cook the meatballs in your pan. A lot of recipes that I was looking at have you cooking the meatballs in a large pan and then removing the meatballs and making your gravy in that pan. We're going to basically use the mushrooms to get that same sort of flavor, the fond on the bottom of the pot. It's just so much easier to bake however many meatballs that was. What's the math? 12 by 6. 7, it's like 140 meatballs or something like that. Did I just make 140 meatballs? That's crazy. I mean, I don't know. And so it's a lot easier to not have to cook those in a pan. So I like the oven personally. And then what we'll do is we'll just scrape those drippings in towards the end of this process. So I'm just getting this nice and hot. I really want to get my mushrooms really brown. That's not only going to make the mushrooms taste better later, but it's going to give me more flavor in the pan that will then go into the gravy. While that happens, I'm just going to go ahead and get the rest of my ingredients ready for this gravy. So I'm going to get a little bowl to put my spices in. There's a point in the recipe where you put everything in the gravy, and it's nice to have it all sort of together already. So we're using the rest of that nutmeg from earlier. I'm going to use it all. Oh yeah, it's starting to go over there. Nice things about microblades is the holes are very small, and they really, unlike a mandolin, there's like a big giant blade that you're running things over. These are just tiny little things. Your fingers don't really fit in there, so it's easy to kind of run things right to the edge. This is starting to smell, which is great. I'm gonna put my mushrooms in there, and I'm just gonna pop them all in there, and I'm gonna let them sit for a long enough time that the bottom layer will get nice and brown, and then I'll give them a little stir. Already smells good. Mushrooms have such a lovely smell. I'm going to put a little bit of salt in there. That's going to help draw some of the moisture out of the mushrooms. And then that's going to help them to get a little bit more meaty with texture, which is exactly what we want here. You can totally skip the meatballs and just make this with the mushrooms. I think I said that earlier too. But it makes life really nice, and it's vegetarian as well, which is kind of cool. I am sort of going back and forth here between cooking vegan, vegetarian, alpha-gal friendly dishes, and then this month, which is very much not alpha-gal friendly at all. Next month will be alpha-gal friendly though. I'm very excited for that. So I've got cardamom again. We're basically using the exact same spices that we used in the meatballs, in the gravy. If you don't want to make meatballs, you want to just use store-bought meatballs, just double the amount of spices in the gravy. And that'll sort of bring that flavor back in. Maybe not exactly double, like a little bit less than that, but that'll help bring that flavor back in and take whatever sort of store-bought ones you use. Try not to get Italian meatballs if you do use store-bought ones, because those are usually seasoned with Italian seasoning, and that's going to definitely sort of clash a little bit. It's not going to be the worst thing in the world, but it's not going to be as good as just like a basic like salt and pepper seasoned meatball if you can get your hands on that. So that's our spice blend. Sorry, what was that? I can't hear because this is... Oh yeah, the turkey ones. Yeah, turkey ones are pretty good. Do I want to do the news? How long do these take to cook? Not long at all, huh? 7 minutes. All right, we're gonna wait till we take the meatballs out. I think we can wait on the pasta a little bit, or at least till I like really start the gravy. So there's our spices. Let's go ahead and read the recipe. Butter and flour. Beef stock is going to be for the base of the gravy. We're using essentially beef stock instead of milk for our like initial bechamel. Spices in there. We need Dijon and Worcestershire. That is it. Great. Wow, this is going to be easy, guys. Let's go. Got a nice fresh bottle of Worcestershire. Oh, smells so good. American fish sauce, basically. Fish sauce is one of my absolute favorite seasonings in Asian cooking, and it's a very similar sort of process to it. Most Worcestershire, though I don't think this one does, has, oh no, this does have anchovies. Has anchovies in it, which is sort of the throwback to the sort of fish sauce that basically kind of inspired this concept of a really umami-rich, salty thing that can flavor pretty much anything. Worcestershire, I think, works really, really well with any sort of cream-based sauce. I don't think there's a cream-based sauce on the planet that doesn't just taste better when you put a little bit of Worcestershire in it. Fish sauce tends to work better with like fruitier dishes, things with lots of citrus, but they both sort of play that same role of giving your mouth like a really, really intense, meaty, umami is the flavor term that we sort of use nowadays, boost, and that any sort of time you use umami like that, it turns all of your taste buds on. So you get that nice meaty flavor. Your taste buds go through the roof, and everything tastes saltier, sweeter, spicier. Everything's just better because of it. This thing's getting pretty hot, so that's great. I'll let these get a little bit going. There's a bit of moisture at the bottom. That's normal. Again, usually when I'm cooking mushrooms, I'd use a wider pan, but I'm going to be making my gravy in this pot, so I'm using this pot just because I'm doing it in mass. If I was cooking for myself or doing just a single recipe, I'd probably be using my 12-inch cast iron to do this. It's going to let the moisture escape faster. The faster the moisture escapes, the faster they're going to start browning, which is what we want for them. So for now, we just have to kind of let it do its thing and get that moisture out. But it's going to get there pretty fast. We're ready to go with these. I'm going to do a teaspoon and a half tablespoon. So that's my quarter. I want to mix these together and let the spices start to hydrate. That's going to mean so that when I put them in later, they're not going to just like float on the top of the gravy. They're going to incorporate better. This is almost like making a slurry, but I'm making it out of spices. So let's see, it's a half tablespoon, and I have a half teaspoon, and there's 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. So if I use 3 of these, we'll hit the recipe, and then I need to double it, so 6 of these. Math is fun, right? Math is one of my favorite subjects. So, and then the Dijon, 1 teaspoon, so 4 of these should be good. Whoa, what are you doing there, buddy? And put as much of this in as you want, really. Like for me, I really like Dijon. I don't know if you saw, I definitely some heavy pours there. But Dijon is another one that gives a really good acidic flavor. So as far as like, you know, you've got all the different types of flavor. You've got acid, or sour rather. You've got sweet, you've got salty, you've got savory, and bitter. So each, for me at least, each one of those sort of categories of flavor has like the ultimate sort of thing. Savory is going to be, like I was talking about, Worcestershire or fish sauce. I feel like those two things hit it more. MSG is also a lovely one. If you've never used MSG before, it is so savory. It is pure savor, like umami. It is the savory thing. Like salt, there's nothing better at salty than salt. MSG is it's not only salty, but it's also incredibly meaty and flavorful. For sour, for me, vinegar is obviously good, but it doesn't go in everything. I feel like Dijon does kind of go in everything. So Dijon is really up there as far as vinegar. Lime juice, again, is another really great one, or lemon juice, citrus in general. But they don't also go in everything. You know, citrus feels like it goes in more fresh things. Vinegar maybe in something more sort of meaty or preserved. Dijon kind of bridges the gap between those. I'll use Dijon in like a fruit salad, or, you know, in like a meat glaze. Either one of them is going to be really good. And it's also a fabulous emulsifier, which is awesome. If you're ever making a salad dressing with oil and vinegar, you put a little Dijon in there. Next time you shake it up, it might not split at all, which is really nice. Bitter is not a spice we usually want to put in things, but for me, toast is like the perfect bitter flavor. Burning things basically is where I like to put my bitter in. So burn or char is so I don't know if you guys heard that, but the sound just changed. We officially moved from having water in the bottom of our pan to having oil in the bottom of our pan. So we're starting to brown, which is good. I'm just going to give these guys a little bit of a stir. So let's see, we talked about sour. I love talking about food. Sour, bitter, salty, flavorful, and sweet. And then again, sweet, the classic is sugar. There's not much more than that, but for me, it's maple syrup every single time. If I need to make something sweet and I want it to, like, it just works in everything. It's liquid, which means you can add it to a lot more things. You don't have to dissolve it beforehand. You don't get gritty texture. It's usually a lot less processed, whereas sugar, you don't know where that's been most of the time. So maple syrup is my winner as far as sweet. But you can use whatever you want. And, you know, picking your own favorites is really nice. It kind of gives you your own sort of, your style of cooking is what sort of ingredients you like to use. What do you find yourself reaching for every single time? You know, if something is a little bit too sweet and you need to make a little bit more sour, what do you grab from your fridge? What do you have in your fridge? Some people, you know, have a lot of apple cider vinegar all the time. That's also another great one. If I'm gonna pick a vinegar, that's probably that and rice vinegar, probably like up there as far as my favorites. So this is really nice. This is gonna be a big flavor bomb for our gravy later. Woo! Oh, that's good. And it's very, very like gritty because it hasn't been cooked yet. Where's my spatula? Uh-oh. That's why I didn't pull one out. I don't think we have one anymore. Where did you go? What are you going to do? Ah! Perfect. Okay, so these mushrooms are looking pretty good. We got a little bit of brown on them. Maybe not as much as like I would love, but because they're a little bit more moist, because I'm cooking a lot at a time, that browning, that Maillard reaction, that's the proteins being turned into sugars. Those sugars are then water soluble, so the water from the mushrooms is dissolving them. Hopefully you can see that the mushrooms are just a darker color now than they were before, and that's that Maillard dissolving and recoating the mushrooms, and that's what we want. We want that flavor. So, and mainly just to sort of move things forward, I'm going to take them out and get our gravy rolling. I think this is big enough. Yeah, why not? Probably should have switched to the bowl. And our meatballs are almost done already too. I love recipes that just kind of come together. Yeah, don't worry, I'm coming back. I'm gonna leave a couple of them in there. All right, so we are going to turn our heat down here because we don't want to burn our butter. We're going to start our gravy off right with butter. I have gone through lots of phases with butter. For those of you who've been fans of mine for a long time, I would never put butter in everything. I kind of didn't like it as much. Same with salt. But it's really hard to make a bechamel without butter. It kind of doesn't work. It's one of the main things. You could use oil for sure. It would work just fine. But because we're going to be putting cream in this sauce later, starting with the milk fat is going to be really advantageous. We're going to have an easier time keeping the sauce together because that milk fat's going to meet more milk fat and they're going to kind of symbiosis. They're going to come together. If I was using oil here, I might get a grease slick on the top later when I try and incorporate it into the milk fat from the cream. But using milk fat from the beginning is going to help us to sort of keep the sauce together, keep the gravy together without worrying too much about losing or letting it break, which would just be so sad. It's not going to happen today though, because we have the butter. That's why it's good. That's why bechamel uses butter. You can use oil and flour for something like a roux, no problem, because you're going to be not necessarily incorporating milk later. You're going to be using a broth, and with a broth, it's not going to matter what kind of fat you use. It's always going to have sort of some trouble. But we're going to be finishing with cream later, and the last thing I want is for my nice gravy to sort of break when I put that cream in there, and it's not going to, because I'm starting with sort of essentially the same fats that I'm later going to use. Oh, this is going to be so good. I don't know how you can. I mean, this is going to be a lot of gravy too. Let's just be clear. I know that was 2 sticks of butter, but each one of you is probably getting like half a tablespoon. which is a decent amount, but not like a crazy amount. All right, we need flour. So it's half a cup of flour, 2 sticks. Usually, it would be, yeah, 1 stick to, for mac and cheese, I think it's 2 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons, so it's equal parts. And I think 1 stick of butter is half a cup when it's melted. So I think we're on the same ratio right now. The old mac and cheese recipe for bechamel, it's 1-1-1-1 or 2-2-2. So 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour, 2 cups of milk, 2 cups of cheese. And that's mac and cheese sauce. Like, that's basically bechamel, but that's like, it's one of my favorite recipes because it's very easy to remember. So I got a whole cup of flour we're going to use here. It's going to make sure we get it nice and thick. And we are going in there. We're just going to make basically a white roux, like I said. We're really not going to cook it very long. We don't want to develop any color because we want that beef stock to come through. We don't really want like a toasty butter flavor to come through. It wouldn't hurt if you want to experiment. Go for it. Do like a chocolate roux Swedish meatball. I think that'd be really fun, actually. Might change up the spices a little bit, or maybe put some like some actual like chili powder in there to really like make it spicy. But you can see the only color I have on that right now is from the actual butter itself. We are going to want this to come to a boil though, because we don't want it to taste starchy. Right now the flour is basically just dissolved in the butter. We need to actually cook some of the starch out of the flour before we start using this. If we don't do it now, we're going to have to cook our gravy for longer than I would feel comfortable doing later to sort of remove that flavor. And that's just asking for the gravy to break, and we really don't want that to happen. So flour and grease, or fat in this case, aren't going to thicken in the same way that a bechamel will. So you could cook this for a really long time, hence like a roux, and it's just going to stay the same consistency. The second I add water in there, or milk, or anything that has water in it, milk has water in it, it's going to start seizing up, it's going to start thickening, it's going to start turning, because that starch is going to combine with the H2O to make the sort of sludge. But the fat doesn't have that. There's no fat in it. It's liquid, but it doesn't have the chemical that the starch needs to bind to. It's very similar to the same process with like a jelly or jam. You're cooking and cooking, and you have all this pectin in there, but it's got nothing to bind. Or sorry, you have all the sugar in there, and the sugar is cooking and cooking and breaking its bonds, and it's just sort of flailing around. But it's not going to do anything until you put the pectin in there. And then the pectin goes in, the sugar binds to it, and you get a product that's really nice and thick. So this is good. I've got it. It's boiling a little bit. It's starting to cook up. Yeah, perfect. I'm just let that go for a little bit. I am going to put my pasta. Do I want to put my pasta in now? Yeah. Let's go. So I'm going to set my timer. We'll go 7 minutes. I couldn't get like the extra wide egg noodles that I really like lugs, but these are going to be good. They're fairly, I mean, they say they're extra wide, but it's not the extra wide I'm used to. All right, start my timer. Perfect. I'm not salting the pasta. I probably will never salt pasta in my life, and I'm going to go to like kitchen hell for it, but I don't care. We're going to have really, really salty beef broth. This beef stock is super salty, so the gravy is going to be super salty. I don't need any salt in my pasta. Guaranteed that I could salt this pasta, it would probably be good, but for me that feels like it's too much, considering how salty the broth is. So I'm now going to go ahead and get my whisk out, because I really, really don't want to have any clumps. This shouldn't clump anyways. This is looking like a really good roux. I'm just going to get ready with my stock. I should take a whole one of these and then probably a little bit extra after that. Turn this down one more. I'm just double checking. Did I say to put the spices in first? Oh no, cream. Oh yeah, the sauces go after the beef stock. That's right, cool. That's what I thought. So we're going to slowly add this while whisking. It's going to immediately start to thicken, and then eventually the temperature from this is going to overcome the temperature in the slurry, or the roux rather, and it's going to stop thickening, and it's going to start becoming just a liquid, and then we'll bring it up to a boil again, and that's when we'll start thickening again, and that's when we're going to decide whether we want to put more in, and how much more we want to put in, as well as that's when we're going to put all our spices in there. So there is no consensus on what the difference is. They will sell you all sorts of different things. Best I could tell from what I have read online is that beef stock has bones, broth has meat and vegetables, but this has vegetables in it too. So I don't know. I don't think. Yeah, exactly. Now there's bone broth too, which is like, come on, guys. In general, as far as I'm concerned, stock tends to have more salt than broth. Broth tends to be less salted, although most of the ones are still going to have salt. This has 22%, for instance, whereas most broths would have like 12 or 13. And then bone broth is usually cooked harder, so there's actual particles in it. There's particulate in it from the bone, so you're getting more of that collagen and those things. All right, let's see what these guys look like. Oh my gosh, it smells really good over here. Woo, baby! Hello, meatballs. Okay, now we're talking. I'm just gonna take a peek at these. I just want to show you guys what we're dealing with here. So they're not quite as brown as I thought they were gonna be. I'm gonna take a little peel. I think they need just a little bit more time, but not too much. I'm actually gonna crank the heat up. And I'm going to switch their positions as well. These are the lower ones, so they got a little bit different heat. The upper ones are looking a little bit more brown, which is nice. And I'm just going to give them like 2 more minutes. I don't have a thermometer here either, so I really want to make sure they're cooked through for you guys. So that's another partial reason why I'm doing that. And the timing should work really well. I probably won't need this because I have a good amount of juice that was in there. I don't know if you guys saw. And that's our milk, that's our fat. That is the moisture from the mushrooms cooking back out of the meatballs. Crank this boil up. 3 minutes on our pasta, nice. We'll get our cream ready. We are going to put this whole thing of cream in there. It's 1 cup of heavy cream. This is a pint, so we're doubling the recipe. And then this is again 4 cups of broth instead of, whoops. Might as well start doing a little cleanup. So these are both going to go back in there before I put the cream in. Oh no, that's right. These go in. Well, they can go whenever you want, but they are going to go in when I put the meatballs in there. So you can see how liquid it is right now, but as soon as that starts to boil, it's going to change. I love making bechamels. Come on, buddy. That smells so good. One thing I really like about egg noodles too is they're not really fussy. Like, this is probably not going to get back up to a boil again, but it's fine because they're so thin. They tend to cook really fast anyways. Perfect. A little bit more time. We're good on that. Are you guys excited? We're almost done. Cook faster! I'm so excited. I was going to make a test batch of these for our holiday party, but I got lazy and just did store-bought meatballs. So this is the first time, like I said, I'm doing this meatball recipe. Very, very excited. They already looked really good, so. Yeah. All right, let's get this ready. Put these over here. Just going to make a landing pad for my meatballs. I don't need to cut anything else. Don't need that. That. Okie dokie. Oh yeah. They look great. I'm so excited. The bottom of these is going to be even browner, which will be nice as well. Perfect. Oh yeah. They seem to be staying together really nice, which is great. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Look at how tough those are. Well, a couple of them stuck, that's fine. Yeah, nice. Well, moisture for this case, the fat content, and then it was about waiting, I think. And it stuck a little bit, but it was about waiting till they were done, basically. It works the same with a grill or a pan. Anytime you're cooking meat, when meat sticks, it's usually because you touched it too soon. Almost all meat, there's like this perfect period between putting it in the pan, it getting cooked perfectly, and it burning, where it's going to pop off the pan basically and be free to go. It's actually a really good indicator to know, oh, it's probably time to flip my meat, is when it starts to come off the pan naturally. Certain really lean meats, especially if you're eating like a loin or venison again, are going to stick almost no matter what. You kind of need a little bit of oil, but any like beef worth its weight has enough fat in it that it will release enough juices to free itself from the pan once the Maillard reaction happens, and that meat stops being protein and starts turning into to sugar, basically. I can't tell you specifically why. It could be the pan. If you're using a stainless steel pan, they tend to just stick no matter what. I hate stainless steel. No offense, stainless steel, you're great for certain applications, I guess, but nothing I've ever done has wanted stainless steel. I like cast iron. Cast iron, it just never sticks. It's kind of amazing. So you see how thick that got all of a sudden? This is about to boil, guaranteed. And that's exactly the texture we want. You can kind of see the whisk lines in it, and if I pull it up, like, it's dripping, but it's not coming off, like it's still sticky. And we haven't added the cream yet. So this is maybe more thick than a gravy I would want it to be, but once we add the cream, I'm hoping that it ends up a little bit. So now's the time we're gonna go ahead and put our spices in there, give them a chance to sort of cook in, so they're not tasting raw. Perfect. This is done now. Where did that? Haha. All right. Got a nice bubble on that. Perfect. This is going to be great. Let's get a little spoon and just make sure I'm not crazy and this does taste good. Oh, it actually does need a little more salt. That's crazy. I think it's fine. That's crazy. I feel like that should have been so much saltier. That's fine with me though. That's too much. Okay, perfect. I'll leave that out. Feel free to salt your dish more if you want to as well. It should be fine. Creamy dishes always just absorb salt pretty well. All that extra fat in there. That was good though. The spices are nice and cooked, so we're gonna go and hit it with the cream. And you can use straight milk for this. You don't have to use cream. I just really like cream, especially for this dish, and it's classic, you know. Cream and butter are kind of like the cheats. If you ever like find a recipe and you're like, man, how am I gonna make sure this tastes good? Just upgrade your milk to cream, upgrade your oil to butter. It's gonna taste amazing. Cream is also really nice in this application, especially because it's gonna lighten our sauce better than milk will. Milk would definitely make this a little bit lighter, but cream is going to get us that nice, almost tan color we're looking for. And it thinned it out really nice. We're going to let it come to a boil just to double check how thick it is. Oh, it smells good. Come on, baby. I did. Oh. Well, I guess that's a good. We could do a show hands. Who cooks at home for themselves? Anybody. It doesn't have to be just men. Yeah. Sweet. That's pretty much all of us. That's great. I guess I kind of expect that. If you guys are coming to a cooking class, you maybe want to learn how to cook. But I love that. That's great. Good question. Thanks. I appreciate everybody's response. Cooking is so much fun. I've been reading a lot of books about cooking. Not cookbooks, like fiction books about people who are cooks. And there's always like this heroic moment in there where they're like, cooking is about helping people and bringing them together, and like nothing is more heroic than like feeding someone, and like I can fight any enemy because I've fed people, you know. And it's like that's actually true. Like the amount of like joy and fulfillment you get from feeding someone is better than like winning any fight. And the amount of bravery to put yourself out there like that and let people judge you by your food is more bravery than I would say most army generals ever have to deal with. So keep cooking. Don't ever get discouraged if you make something bad. Just make it better next time, or don't. It doesn't matter. Don't make it ever again. You don't have to worry about it. Okay, I don't think this is going to get too thick, so I think I'm going to go ahead and put these in here. This is cooled enough as well. Let me just make sure. Oh yeah, sorry guys. Oh, this is so good. Okay, perfect. I'm just going to go ahead and put these in here and scrape all the drippings off as well. Wow.
Do you have a favorite book about cooking?
Well, the one I just read right now that I was referencing is from T. Kingfisher, and it's called Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. T. Kingfisher is a really, really fabulous author that my partner Alexandra has told me about for years, and I finally started reading just this year, and I've now read 4 of their books. I was listening to this book while I was reading one of their other books, Snake Eater. That's how much I love them as an author. They have a very, very good writing style, sort of reminiscent of Douglas Adams, for those of you who've read Hitchhiker's Guide, in the way that their comedy is timed. Very, very well-timed comedy, very, very good use of the English language. It's almost like they're having a conversation with you, and a lot of the times their characters are having a conversation with you. They're like, you're reading their book as if it's like a journal or something like that. You feel really, really connected to their characters. I love that aspect of it. But their humor is just amazing as well. Really, really, really cool author. Absolutely a lot of fun. And I mean, most of their stuff is like fantasy oriented, which is where my brain just lives most of the time. But they have a few things that are sort of, they branch out and they go in other places. And they have a little bit of nonfiction, but for me, their fantasy stuff is where it's all at. And they have a big world that they've built. They're kind of like a mix between like Douglas Adams and Ursula K. Le Guin. I don't know if you know Le Guin as well. Another fabulous author that I have spent a lot of my time listening to and reading. That's gonna be amazing. And mushrooms too. Don't want to forget those. Let's go. Okay, now we got to be really gentle. Oh, this is amazing. Oh, it looks so good. Wow, holy crap. I've like done this before, but it's just really cool when it's your own meatballs, especially. Alright, one final taste, just to make sure I don't need to season it. The thickness looks pretty good. It's thick. If this like cooled down, it would definitely brick up, and I'd probably want to thin it out with a bit more broth or milk. But I think for now, for today, for right now, it's going to be perfect. Tastes pretty dang good. I like that. I think the Lingen, well, if we had lingonberry, that would definitely be like a good vibe right now. I'm going to put out some mustard actually, just in case anybody wants it. I think a little bit of acid is going to be good with this. Try the jam if you want to. Any extra salt you want, if you Worcestershire you want as well. I'm going to start making up some bowls. Let's see, how many do we have today? 1, 2, 3. 20, perfect. I'm just going to make up all the bowls at once and then have you guys come on up. So let's make some space here. I won't, don't worry. There's a lot of meatballs. I cooked for 30 people because we had so many people last month. But I think, you know, just weather and winter, people are getting sick, so we have some cancellations for today. What did I say, 20? 20. One more. Give this one more stir, turn it down. Perfect. Probably should have oiled these noodles a little bit. Egg noodles always get a little sticky, but I think they're still close enough to when we cooked them that they'll be okay. You know what, honestly, I think the tongs are gonna work better for this. Yeah? You say my name? I just heard like cheech, 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 like there's a bunch of squirrels or something. Say my name. Cheech, cheech, cheech. Cheech, not like Cheech and Chong, by the way. Yeah, exactly. I told all my college friends what my nickname was. They're like, oh yeah, man. I'm like, no. I mean, yeah, sure, but like, no, that's not what it's about. It was from when I was like 4 years old, so I just didn't know how to say my R's, which is a pretty common problem for 4-year-olds, I believe. So, Christopher has a couple there in there, so looks about right. We'll just even this one out a little bit. Close enough. And that's just enough for staff to enjoy as well. Great. If everybody feels like they want more noodles when they come up, just let me know. I will give you more noodles, but I think that's going to be perfect. All right, guys, if you want to start coming up, I'm going to start ladling out some meatballs. Let's see, we said I'm going to start with 2, and we'll go further. Maybe I should just do them all. That way we know how many we have. You guys can start coming up, though, if you want to. If you're happy with 2, feel free to come up. Otherwise, I am going to just do them all right now and get them ready to rock. Oh my gosh, yes! That's fine, yeah. It sounds like we're going for 3. I think we can do 3. I just want to make sure. I got some people on staff that were like very happy they were working today. So I got to make sure I give at least a couple to them. But
I got 82.
82? Come on. There we go. Planning ahead, that one already got 3. It looks good so far, so. Come on, baby. Oh my gosh, yes. I did switch over to 3, so I think we're doing it. If I was serving this at home, it would be a little bit prettier too, but I always just like throw it together for you guys. I know you don't mind. Home style is best style anyways. Oh, I would probably I just like would have done like a big pile of the noodles in the middle. I would have like placed 3 meatballs on top and then like spooned the sauce around the outside, and it would have been a whole process, but this is way more fun and a lot easier and faster. Okay, great. We have officially switched to 3. 3 is what we're getting, so if you guys want to start coming up, please do. Yeah, if you need some for sure.
Looks like dinner. Are you doing 4 now?
No. Oh, did that one get 4? Oh well, somebody's
got
special.
4. Should I save it for
You can
staff?
save it for you if you want.
Alright.
I forgot, you got your container, right? You want me to put it right in the container?
Well,
I can make it right into the container. That's no problem.
how's that?
Yeah, that's great. Oh, perfect.
Oh, here, now you have an extra plate
Yeah, for staff. That's great.
Okay. I'll just wait for when you're done.
Some dudes.
And now I lost a little bit of the gravy too.
That's okay. We got you.
Because I'll take it. I actually really enjoy just taking it home and eating it at my leisure.
Yeah, exactly.
So why don't you put salt? Oh, well, we still.
Yeah.
Why don't you
I'll
put
stop
salt
it.
in your pasta?
No, I just haven't forever, and I
So I
don't
don't
know.
need to.
You can. I mean, it seasons the pasta. It does. It really does. But for me, it feels like a waste. I think it's like one of those things. Like salt is.
Thanks.
Like I'm just gonna pour it out, and salt's not expensive, but I don't know. My brain just is like, don't waste the salt. Don't waste the salt.
Ooh, this is sauce.
Yeah, sauce should be really good.
Do you put oil, a little oil in your pasta?
No, I did. I should have probably though, because egg
No.
noodles
I mean, when
are
you're
crazy.
home when you're making spaghetti or whatever, do you put anything in the pasta?
I'll
Like
usually
water?
try. Oh no, nothing usually. And then when it comes out, I'll usually try and grease it up or do whatever I need to do.
After it comes out.
Yeah. I have put oil in water before for certain applications, but it's never worked out the way I wanted it to.
And if I'm making burgers, they're sticky because I'm taking them out when they're rare or medium rare.
You're just not letting them wait on the side long enough. Like you want to put them in the pan,
bottom side, oh.
yeah, let them cook, and don't flip them until they come off easy. If they aren't coming off easy, they're not ready. Or if you're trying to cook them like rare or medium rare, sometimes you do need a little oil because you're not leaving them on the side long enough. But usually higher heat will fix that for you.
Higher heat.
Yeah, because higher heat will get the side to brown faster, and then therefore make it release.
And pop up.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Serving lingonberry with a fork.
Well, listen, I probably got a spoon somewhere. Let me
No,
get.
that's okay.
It's I hope this is good. It's raspberry with I actually haven't tried it yet. It's raspberry with currants in it, and currants are like a kind of like a really mini cherry almost.
It'll be delicious.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's got just enough tang. I love raspberries. Oh my god, they're so good.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you for being okay with the latecomer.
Anytime.
I really
I'm so happy you were able to come.
appreciate
It worked out really well today.
Now, why do you prefer, like pork and beef versus?
So pork and beef is the classic sort of
Yeah.
hack to counteract lamb. It gets the extra flavor that you might have with lamb, and while keeping like the beef red meat flavor. You wouldn't want to do pure pork for this,
Right.
but the pork and beef give you that sort of like lamb-ish feeling because the pork is a little bit more earthy and beefy or meaty, and the beef is just like a good filler basically for anything. But mainly because the internet told me to. Sometimes I just listen.
Pretty match it to that ratio, or could you use, like the prepackaged beef pork veal meatloaf?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the meatloaf mix would work great for
You don't have to
sure.
worry about how much meat.
Yeah, exactly. For this, 1 to 2 is like what most of the recipes say, but you can do anything you want.
Oh, you're also cute. I always learn so many cool little things, little factoids from you too. The thing about the mustard, I didn't know about that.
Oh, so good. Guys, thank you so much for coming again to another Chef Look Cooks. Thank you for eating my food. I hope it's delicious. It smells good. I'm really excited to have it all together myself. Next month, we're going to be doing the program pretty early in the month. So just be aware of that. Again, sign-ups will happen a week before. On that sign-up sheet is the form you can fill out to suggest more patron suggestions. I have enough to get us through June, but a couple of them are a little bit tough to cook in this kitchen, so I'd love more suggestions. It might not get cooked, but you might knock one of the other ones off the list if it happens to work in this situation better. But I'm just really happy you guys were able to come. I'm really excited to be able to explore your favorites as well. Question in the back?
Don't forget you were going to talk about eating.
Oh gosh, thank you. You're the best. I should have talked about that earlier. So we have a new program here that we started paying for this year. It's called Eat Your Books. If you've been up in the cookbook section, you may have seen some of the bookmarks we have. You can also access it by going onto the library's website. It's under our technology offerings. It's called Eat Your Books. It is a really cool program. You can get a free program for yourself that you can use at home and put your own cookbooks in there, but we've taken our entire cookbook selection, we've uploaded it online. You can now search for a recipe, for an ingredient, for an author, and find every cookbook that we have in this building that has that recipe, ingredient, or author in it. You can't get the recipes, but you then know which cookbook to take out. So it's really, really good. I actually used it this month for the display we have out there for Chef What Cooks. I put in Swedish meatballs, and it gave me 12 books that have Swedish meatball recipes in it. I went upstairs and I found them. It was so much easier than what I usually do, which is like look through indexes for like an hour or so. It's a lot of fun, really cool to use. And once you get in there, you can sign up for a free program that will let you use I think it's like 100 books of your own personal libraries. You can do the same thing at home as well. Really cool program. Can't recommend it enough. And it's free. We're paying, it's really cheap even for us. It's awesome. Eat Your Books is what it's called. It's part of a Cook Shelf, which is like this bigger company that sort of has branded them, but really, really cool. Thank you for the reminder because I do want to get it out there and get it out onto the internet as well. You can get to it from the Edgartown Library website. It's really cool. Only a few people know about it right now, but I'm excited to spread the word. So tell your friends. It's right on the website, but it's Eat Your Books is what the company is called. So thank you for the reminder. Thank you all for coming. I hope to see you all next month. Again, it's going to be early in the month. And get really excited. Next month is going to be a lot of fun. It's something Japanese. It's something experimental. It's something that sort of, when it first started being big on the scene, sort of blasted in the face of everything traditional about Japanese cooking, and that's why I really love it as a food form. I'm really excited to share it with you next month. Most of you have already had it before, but that's all I'll say. The newsletter's like 3 days away anyway, so you guys will get it soon. Thanks so much for coming, guys. We'll see you later.